Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and a big warm hello to my subscribers. I love you guys. Today I'm bringing you 12 beautiful coastal DIY decor pieces, and as always, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. For this DIY, I went out and gathered some shells from my local beachside ocean, and this is a wooden mermaid that I got from Michael's about 5 years ago. She wasn't very expensive. I think she's around $3. I didn't know what to do with her. I've just kind of been looking at her. I thought I was just going to paint her, but I had a really good idea, so this is what we ended up doing. These are some wine corks, and I'm going to take each one of these wine corks and just slice them really thin, and then slice them in half again. And then, as you saw, I dry brushed her with a little white paint, and now I'm just kind of bringing out the finer details by going around the edge and distressing her just a little bit with burnt umber from apple barrel paint. And now I'm just going to take those half corks, I don't know if that's the right word for them, half corks, and apply it to her tail part, just her little tail, so that they look like little scales on a fish. These are some abalone shells that I found at my local beach. You can tell what my solution is for breaking them into tiny pieces. I'm just taking a hammer to them. But if you don't live by the ocean, Dollar Tree does sell some beautiful things now that you can use to substitute. They have a bag of seashells, which I think they've always had, but they've come out with sea glass, I think. They look like little colored rocks, and they come in beautiful ocean coastal type colors, which would make awesome hair for her. So at the time, I actually made this DIY last year, you guys. It's been hanging in my bathroom already for a year. I've been waiting to share it with you. I didn't have enough time last year. Suddenly fall was upon us, and I was in the holiday, crafting zone, and so I didn't have enough time to share this with you guys. So I'm sharing it now because I think she came up so cute. Look at that. So I decide I want her to hang on a picture frame, and to do that I glued a little bit of burlap down, and I glued her on, and this is all hot glue, and everything stuck really well because it's been in the bathroom and it's still sticking. And then I took some shims outside, stepped on them to crack them so that they would have uneven edges. That's the bottom of a shim, the thinner edge of it, how it kind of has that graduated point at the end. So it's really easy to break with your feet, or if you're really strong, you could do it with your hands. I was nervous that it would fly in my face because I tend to have luck like that. So I took it outside and used my feet. And then I'm just using the Dollar Tree stickers and doing a reverse stencil with a bit of burnt umber. And I'm going to glue these kind of crooked and wonky and sideways so that they look like they've been outside in the beach. You know how beach signs are usually kind of hanging in different directions because they get weathered from the different changes in, I guess, the weather. But I glue it down on top of the burlap, and that's it. I absolutely love this DIY. This is one of my favorite ones. I couldn't wait to share it with you. I have a mermaid bathroom theme, and she just fit perfectly. For this DIY, you're going to need a Dollar Tree wreath form and some of the Dollar Tree seashells I talked about before. And then this is some ribbon. It's like netting that a subscriber sent me. I love this so much. I don't know where she got it, but if you find a ribbon that's similar, it would be perfect, but just something that looks a little bit like a net. and I just wrapped it around the wreath form just to kind of, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. You just wrap it around till you get a nice look. Now, the problem with this ribbon though is it does unravel at the ends, so I realized I needed to wrap it up, which is okay. That just makes it look more nautical, so I didn't worry about it. I go ahead and I wrap the ends up, and then to make it more balanced, I just wrap one in the middle as well. And now I'm going to start gluing the seashells down using hot glue. It is on the highest temperature. I was worried that these shells wouldn't stick because there's not much to hold on to with these wreath forms, and you guys, I don't know what it is with hot glue and shells, but so far everything I have used with hot glue and shells in a steamy bathroom from last year is still staying together. So nature makes it different than what we do with, well, I'm thinking of these plastic little rocks I bought at the Dollar Tree, these little glass rocks. Those require E6000 or super glue, but the shells were amazing. They are holding onto the wreath form, the wood, and they're holding onto each other, and they're on there really strong. So you can use just hot glue, even though it seems precarious. And I just kind of put them out. You saw what I did in a pretty design until I got, a shape and a colored combo that I thought looked really pretty. And then I'm picking some florals here that I think look like they might be under the ocean. And I'm just adding them here and there for a little extra coastal color. I just think this came out so cute, you guys, when I'm all done. I love this. So I'm tying a bow now, and again, it has wire in it, so I use a little bit of the twine to tie it in the middle because you won't be able to notice it, but then I realize it might fall off. I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's on there very strong with the hot glue, and I don't know why. So for the bow, I go ahead and tie some extra twine around the back side to hold the bow on. I also tie this floral on too. I mean, for this to stay. I have confidence in the shells, but I am not confident in the ribbon or the greenery there unless it's tucked in under a shell, but this is what we end up with, and I think it's beautiful. And this is a nice, easy DIY. It's a great planter hack for a Dollar Tree planter. I just took that outside, spray painted it white, and now I'm taking just the edge of my foam brush and I'm going to add blue like the ocean and then an aquamarine color that's also like the ocean. And I just blended them to look a little bit like the seaweed grows up, or how the water kind of has, when the sun rays go through and you're underwater. If you see film footage, you see how it kind of ripples that way, just to give it that coastal feel. And now I'm using the glass beads. Now this is what I was talking about before. I thought these would stick like the shells, and I was in for a big surprise after I glued these on. 30 minutes later they all started falling off, so I had to go back and glue them all with super glue and hot glue, and now they're staying permanently. But I think this is such a fresh, pretty coastal DIY. For this next DIY, you're going to need some shims, or you could use paint sticks, but I didn't even cut these. I just gave them a light sand, and then I put them all together. We're going to be making a sign here, and I literally just glued them all together like you see me doing here, and I turned the shim in the opposite direction on each side, and wherever it didn't hit, I just kind of lifted the wood up. You see, because they kind of have like a graduated angle, so I just lifted the wood up to meet that angle because I wanted the sign to look very uneven, very rustic, very beachy. Beachy signs are always, I live by the ocean, I see signs like this all the time. They are very weathered and falling apart, so uneven is good. And I'm just adding now a little bit of blue again, and a little bit of aqua green again, like aquamarine color. It's like a greeny blue. Drying it a little bit, and then a little bit of burnt umber really lightly. And then I printed this out saying life, is better by the sea. Now this is a free printable. It will be down below in my description box, so if you want to go ahead and get it, it's right below my video. Click show more if you're on a computer, and if you're on a tablet or a phone, you'll see a little gray arrow in the upper right hand corner. Just click on that and a drop down menu will appear. This is another DIY that I made last year. I made 3 of them and I never got a chance to upload them because, like I said, fall was upon us and the holiday season hits hard for crafters. We have to move. We have to move with the tide, no pun intended, but I love this. It fits so perfectly with my rustic decor in my bathroom. It just makes me feel good every time I look at it. I do add some shells, and I did add some E6000 and some hot glue for those shells, but I'm wondering now if I really needed to because the shells are holding nicely with hot glue. But this is it, and I think it's so cute. This DIY is so simple. This little mermaid house is at the Dollar Tree, and I've always looked at it and thought, oh, it's cute, but it looks kind of cheap. And I thought, you know what, Holly, why not just take it home and, dry brush it a little bit, distress it a little bit, and see if you can't make it look a little more expensive. I don't even know if you can call this a DIY, but I thought I'd leave it in here just to give you guys some more ideas in case you come across this little house. I dry brushed it with some white, burnt umber around the edges and on the roof to kind of make it look like a wooden roof, glued a little shell on the front, and it kind of took it from cheap to super cute. For this DIY, you're going to need some of the Dollar Tree wooden fish forms, some Dollar Tree glass beads, and some Dollar Tree wooden dowels, and some bright, pretty colors. I actually have on my cell phone right now tropical fish. I googled tropical fish and I found 3 that I really liked, so I'm copying the pattern. And it doesn't have to be perfect, even if your decor, if you don't do the glass beads on top, you still could do this kind of not perfect, I guess. If you have rustic decor, it still would look totally cute. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just making some really pretty tropical fish in the colors that I see on my phone, and this is what we end up with. And then I'm going to place these little glass beads on top of it to kind of make these fish look bubbly and cute and magnify the colors and give the beads colors as well. But you'll see at the end, I don't like the 3 on the tail, even though I searched forever to find angled, skinny ones that were kind of misshaped for their little fins. It just didn't look like a fish without the tail hanging out, so I do remove those and then patch up any damage that it happens. Remarkably, not that much does. I just have to touch up the edge on one little tail, but I go about gluing those down using the Fix All from Super Glue and Hot Glue, and I'm using wood glue because wood glue is still the strongest glue for raw wood. It becomes part of the wood at a molecular level. You can't beat it, and these little guys are really heavy, so I knew I was going to need the wood glue in the composition there to be able to hold these up over the long term. And now I'm just taking a little bucket I found at a thrift store. I love this. It's like a little farmhouse apple bucket or something. I don't know, it's so cute. And I put some Dollar Tree foam down. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to set those fish up, putting a plastic bag in there so I don't have to use so much moss. And then you're going to see me take some florals and put them in there as well. Again, I'm looking at my phone and I can see the plant life at the bottom of the ocean, and I'm trying to copy what I see off of my phone to make it look like it's under the sea. But I think this came up so cute. I was in the mood to make a playful DIY, colorful and happy and cheerful. And there they are with no bubbles on their tails, but I think this came up totally cute. So this is my inspiration piece from Wayfair, and it really is, you know, an inspiration piece. Mine isn't identical, but that triggered an idea. I'm using lath. My lath was free, but if you want to buy it, it's almost free. It's $1.12 for 8 feet, and you can just drive to Home Depot. They'll cut it for you and put it in your trunk, and you drive away. It is usually red. Sometimes you can find it in light colors, but if you're going to paint it, it doesn't matter. And because it's really thin, like kind of like a ruler, it is often the wood that breaks that ends up in their trash can. So I think the guy told me they lose about 20 pieces off of each stack that they get. So pretty regular free wood that you can pick up if your Home Depot or Lowe's manager is nice and not being weird about it. And for more information on how you can get free wood, I do talk about it in my first video, but every single store that sells wood invariably has wood that is free because they have to. It gets damaged, it isn't sellable. It's just up to the individual managers whether or not they're going to give that to you for free or throw it away, but it is what it is. I will tell you, for the Home Depot manager that does that for me, I am a hardcore patron. That is the only Home Depot that I buy stuff at. I go out of my way, so I encourage you guys to do the same. It's a nice way to say thank you. So here I'm mixing some paint up. It's just brown paint. You can use whatever paint you want, but I want these to look stained, and I'm trying to copy the inspiration picture. And I made my anchor and starfish the same way that I made my Pottery Barn dupe faux wooden beads. For those of you that haven't watched that video, I will link it at the end of this video, and I will also put it down in my description box. But I'm dabbing it on with a baby white, and in the end, you guys, I figured out that just painting it on first and dabbing it off was better, and I didn't really need a baby wipe. I could have just done it with paper towels, but live and learn. So just use a paper towel, that's fine. In fact, these little guys here really prefer not to get wet, so paper towel is probably more optimal. I end up having to blow dry them, which is fine. Everything worked out okay, but it was one extra step that you won't need to do if you use a paper towel. So I'm also going to be taking my favorite color, black paint. For those of you that watch my video again, you guys know I love black paint for weathering, and I'm going to make everything look old and beaten up and dirty like it's been outside. So now I'm laying out all of my pieces here to kind of get a feel for how I want it to look. And I decide that I'd rather not have uniformity with two broken ends on either side, even though my inspiration piece is like that. I like it better when it's uneven, because that's how it would really be with a real sign at the beach. They break unevenly and, you know, get beaten up differently from the salt air. So I wanted to make sure mine looked that way too. And I'm just taking more black paint now, and I'm edging the starfish and the anchor to make it look all old and distressed as well. And here I'm just using the jute twine from Walmart. It's a little thicker, and I'm going to wrap it around the anchor and make it look like the rope that would be on an anchor. And for those of you that don't have any jute twine, you can look around and use an old shoelace. I've also taken white t-shirts before, cut them super, super wafer thin, and then twisted them around and around in a coil and soaked them in like a tea or watered down brown paint, and it looks awesome. Actually, it looks the same. So use your imagination and have fun. Of course, because the edges are raw wood, I'm going to take my wood glue here. I talk about the benefits of wood glue in depth in many of my videos, but basically, you guys, if you're going to glue raw wood together, just trust me. Use wood glue because it becomes part of the wood. And I'm using my hot glue in between to tack it on so that it stays in place while I'm crafting. And I do decide to give a little extra support to these on the back, so I take some craft sticks, I cut off the ends because they're a tad bit longer, and I glue them on the back. And for those of you that are wondering how I got those pieces all broken and jagged looking, I stepped on those puppies. I did. I just put some flip-flops on, stepped on them, and snapped them. It was super easy, and it came out perfect. I think I just broke off little pieces here and there to get it just right, but came out great. So here's my inspiration piece, but I wanted to make it nautical. So I saw another piece, and the trick was to put it together. And again, I'm using my free wood. These are called dunnage blocks. For those of you that watch my video on Seriously Free DIYs number 2, I made a ladder using these. They're very distinct. They have that groove in there, and that's where the little forklift thing goes in there when they're lifting up big pallets of plywood. I did have to sand it down, but that was it. I can't complain. This particular dunnage block was unusual in that it was a perfect square, so I was saving it. I only got one, but I knew that it was unique, and I knew that I was going to be able to use it for something special. And when I saw those photos, I knew exactly what I was going to use them for. So now I'm taking wood glue, a little bit more on wood glue since I have, some time here. At a molecular level, it bonds and becomes one with the grain of the wood. So very powerful hold, optimal glue to use with wood, raw wood. If you've got your wood covered in thick paint or a poly acrylic or something, it's no good. It's got to be right on the raw wood. But great glue. I would use super glue second if I didn't have wood glue. That's probably the next best hold along with the hot glue. And I don't know how these gals do it on YouTube, you guys. I've seen people use E6000. When I use that, it soaks into the wood, but I've seen videos where girls are saying that they use that. Now, here I'm going to wrap around, and I said it wrong in my last video, you guys. It's sisal rope, not sisal. So I'm correcting it now. Sisal rope. I'm going to wrap it around and give it that nautical feel. So here's my inspiration piece, you guys, $15.99 for a pile of rocks. And here's the actual beach where we picked our rocks, and my husband and I went. We picked driftwood up, shells, lots of fun. And here's the rocks that I ended up washing off. You can tell they're heavy there. I'm trying to move them off the table gracefully. And the color blues I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to be lightly, these blues are pretty intense, so even though I'm lightly touching the rock, I'm still going to get quite a bit of color coming off. They did a study on blues, and they found it's a calming color. So I think that's why you probably see it in hospitals and preschools and classrooms. I know I met a teacher once who said she purposely chose the blue big poster paper to put on the bulletin board to keep her, she thought maybe it helped to keep her students calmer so she'd have less behavioral problems. So blue's really calming. It's perfect for an ocean decor piece. And I'm just giving it 3 different colors. I thought that'd be really pretty to do, almost like a, it's not going to be exactly like the inspiration piece because that was just meant for inspiration. I'm going to make it my own, and I am going more for the ombre effect. And E6000 works great on rocks, you guys. So there I am. I'm putting 3 big dots of E6000. I'm putting the hot glue on to hold it in place. And then I remember I forgot to write my word on it. Yep. I had taken the word off my inspiration piece and blown it up a little bit and traced it from my computer screen. That's a nice little tip for those of you that watch my videos. You've heard me say that before. I often trace my computer screen. Perfectly safe as long as you don't press too hard, and it's a great way to save ink and paper. And this beach is just another word. I think I actually looked up nautical stuff and the word beach came up and I went, oh, that's pretty. And I traced that one. And I'm using my black painter's pen. The painter pen that I am using is below in my description box if you're interested. It works really, really well and it lasts a long time. And I'm just filling in these words. And I also decide that these need a little bit of dry brushing with white paint. I want to make them look scratched, but I also thought it would be fun to try and imitate the white foam of the ocean. And time for more E6000 and gluing. And I want to tell you guys, once I put the hot glue on, this instantly bonded. It's super heavy. I was able to turn it sideways and write that word on it. It was amazing. And here's a shell I had. I thought that would be so pretty on the front. I love mine better than the one from Hobby Lobby. And you did not need E6000 either with the shell, just hot glue. So maybe hot glue and rocks go together really well, but everything worked great. You're going to need a bottle and some corks and some old-fashioned writing. Now, the only thing I could think of was our U.S. Constitution that had the kind of old-fashioned handwriting that I wanted. And I'm just going to roll the title up on the inside so you won't see that. Now, if you want to see that, you could use this, I guess, as a 4th of July decoration. But for now, I'm using it for beach decor, so I'm going to roll it up on the inside. Here I am edging it with the color Burnt Umber from Apple Barrel Paint, and I'm just making it look nice and old. For those of you that watch my videos, you know that I love masking tape, especially for putting it down first to make a surface a little bit more, I guess, adhesive for hot glue, because hot glue often doesn't like to stick on shiny surfaces, and I've used it for years and I found it works great. But you can use whatever sticky kind of tape, you know, as long as it has a good stick, you can use whatever you want for this. And I'm just taking the twine from the Walmart and wrapping it up around and around at the top, and I do end up going down a little bit longer on the other end as well. Using a lighter to burn off the extra long hairs and fuzz. The amount of times that you wrap it around and around is going to vary from project to project depending on what size bottle you use and how much twine you have left. But you start it by a thin strip of glue at the top and you end it with a thin strip of glue, and then you're going to see me right here put glue in a vertical direction, and then I turn it and I press the string into it so that my cork will hang downwards in a vertical position. And in a minute, you're going to see me dump some really beautiful turquoise sand in this bottle that I have left over for some sand paintings that I did many years ago. There it is, absolutely beautiful, perfect for a nautical decor piece. You just tuck that little message in the bottle, and I have a leftover tassel from a boho project that I did. I made 2 tassels and I only ended up using 1, and I thought it would be perfect for this bottle. That's it. I saw this cute little ironing board, laundry room decor at the Dollar Tree, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it when I saw it. So I start off with taking off the little clothes pegs on the front, and then I'm going to trace out the shape to make it narrow at the bottom, or a little bit more narrow at the bottom. We're making a surfboard, in case you haven't guessed. So I cut it, and you can do it with regular scissors, you guys. I was really surprised. I just kind of cut and then turned it sideways and broke it off, and then cut and then broke it off, and it worked perfect. I did have to take off a little more extra than you saw me trace initially, but it came up perfect. So we're just cutting out our surfboard, and then we're going to start decorating it now to make it look like a surfboard. So I start off painting it white with some acrylic paint. It's Craft Smart paint from Michael's. Really nice paint. It's like a 1-coat paint. I put it on really thin there, and you can still see how thick it covers. It's a really good substitute for chalk paint, I think. And there's washi tape from the Dollar Tree. This is what we're going to use to make our surfboard stripes. And now I'm just using an aquamarine color to edge the board a little bit, kind of still figuring out exactly what I wanted to do with this. I had kind of a rough idea, but I didn't know for sure. So we decided to do some dry brushing up the center there with the aquamarine. And I think, you know what, it needs some more stripes. And I also, again, I'm looking at my cell phone, I'm checking out a surfboard, so I'm getting ideas from what I see online. So now I'm using baby blue, and we're going to make 1 more stripe on either side of the surfboard. So when I lifted the washi tape up, some of the paint lifted here and there. No big deal. I just touched it up with a paintbrush. It looks perfect. And then we're going to take a Dollar Tree stencil. I think it is so cute. I love you deeply, pucker up. I didn't want the octopus, but I thought that saying was so funny, especially the fish with the puckered lips. I don't know why I just got such a tickle out of that. I'm making this for my kids, you guys. They have a beach theme home, but there's certain corners of their house, like maybe at the top of the hallway where there's a little nook, that this would be funny, just even for comedy reasons. It would just be a cute little decor piece. So I start off using a paint pen, and then I don't like the edges. It's not as clean as I'd like them, so I wipe it off and I finish off with a permanent black Sharpie, and then go over the permanent black Sharpie to clean up the edges. And I take my paint and pen, a combination of both, and clean up the edges where I first started as well. It actually took me a long time to make the edges as crisp as I wanted. I didn't want this to be distressed, but I was having fun and relaxing. I love crafting. Remember that, you guys. You should be relaxing and having fun when you're crafting. It should bring you joy. It's therapy. But I love the way this came out. All I did was take some twine, wrap it at the top and bottom just to give it a little bit more, I guess, character, and that's it. This craft is one that I have been waiting to make all year. You're going to need a printable of an anchor. That will be a free printable down below in my description box for you. And I changed the size. That is a tutorial I gave you in a Christmas video. I will also link that down below in the video for those of you that don't know how to do that. It took up about 4 pieces of paper when I printed it out, but I wanted it really big. And I'm using it as a template. As you can see, I cut out some cardboard. And this is a combination of bamboo and driftwood that I collected at the ocean last year that I've been waiting to use to make this. I saw something on Pinterest. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. We're going to be making an anchor completely out of driftwood and bamboo. I didn't have enough driftwood, but I did want to give you a tip that Rosemary from Fabbed Hacks told me about how to make driftwood. She said that you look for the kind of messed up wood that you would already find, maybe that's been wet for a while or buried by dirt. You know, just kind of start with branches that nature's already done a number on, if you can. Well, she also said you could pick some that were naturally bleached by the sun. Just one that you want to look for old branches laying on the ground that have been there for a while. That's the trick. And then you take those and soak them in a 6-to-1 solution of water to bleach, and then sun dry, and you get something pretty close to driftwood. I saw her final results in one of her videos. I thought it was brilliant. I soaked my wood in bleach water when I got home just to clean it in case, you know, I brought any little passengers home that I didn't want from the beach. But I remember thinking, wow, they came up light and dry looking. So it never occurred to me that that would work on regular wood too. And it did. So if you don't live by the sea, you can still have driftwood. Don't worry. And I have a feeling even if you had brand new wood, if you left it in a stronger solution of bleach and water for longer, you would still have the same effect. It's a great way to get that look. And of course, don't forget to pick off all of your soggy bark because you're after the wood without the bark underneath. So as you can see, I'm gluing it. And I'm just looking for different shapes, sizes, curvatures in the wood to get around that hole. And then I'm gluing even on the side of the wood when I need to. I'm not staying totally on the cardboard because I want to cover every little bit of this cardboard up. When I'm done, you do not see the edges of the cardboard anywhere. See that broken stick right there? I had a lot of those left and they turned out to be perfect for filling in little holes and covering those edges. Wait and see. Wherever it was impossible for me to cover the cardboard, I would take the craft knife and cut it away. But the ultimate goal was to make sure no cardboard showed anywhere. And the last final step was to put some craft sticks and the leftover part of a shim on the back to make it nice and sturdy. But this came up absolutely stunning. I'd love to know what you think. I love this. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button for me. And as always, until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.